Evo. Evo what? Evo stick? Evo car magazine? Mitsubishi Evo? Or maybe its full name, Evolution? Darwin? Films? Nope. In this case, it is the evolution of the already successful Hill EC3000 compressor. Hello and welcome to AAR On Air. This week it's a look at the Hill EC3000 Evo from the all-British company that's only 45 minutes from where I live. I've dealt with this Sheffield-based company for a while and have always been impressed with their products and their attention to detail and, above all, their customer service. And yet, being as close as they are to me, I've never actually been to them. So, with news of the new EC3000 Evo launch, I thought this would be a great opportunity to take a little time out of my usually hectic day and put some faces to names. So, after a quick phone call, they were immediately open to the idea and wanted me to visit them when the full team was available. At this point, it's worth highlighting that not many companies or factories are happy to have people visiting them for one reason or another. But Hill were not only happy, they gave me full access. They are indeed really very proud of what they do and produce and the quality control that they have. There are a couple of important points to cover off in this programme. The first one is that this is British made. All of it. I have a lot of comments from people on the channel, and sadly there are quite a few who leave comments and are happy to do so without any apparent knowledge or taking the time to check any facts before they do so. This particular one is a point in case. Built with mainly Chinese components. Laughing face. I don't think anyone could be more wrong if they tried. I'm prepared to state that this is British made. Wholly. Not only that, but if they source out any of the manufacturing, they source it out locally and have tremendous relationships with quality local engineering and manufacturing companies. I believe the furthest they go is Leeds way. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that's right. Even the all-new motherboard and circuitry is made very locally. The vast majority of the initial fabrication is done in-house, and I was privileged to be able to see this being done by their very skilled and knowledgeable team. The production line is so clean and tidy and methodical, it would put a lot of others to shame. Indeed, I thought about asking them to come out and sort my workshop out. The quality control is 100%. By that, I mean all, not a sample. All of the compressors are tested before seeing the inside of a delivery box. Now, I could wax lyrical about the hugely positive attitude shown by all the people I met. The environment they create at Hills for well-being of their staff promotes personal ownership of the quality of their products from start to finish. So, from a British business point of view, you will need to look very, very hard to find much better. Okay, so what is the Evo then? Well, ironically enough, the EC3000 has been around for a while, but has, very quietly, gone through around 5 or more versions. The R&D department of Hill are constantly looking for improvements to their products. They are, incidentally, a bunch of disgustingly young and highly intelligent individuals. But, like the Murphys, I'm not bitter at all. Oh, which means if you have an EC3000 and have bought it recently, it will have quite a few improvements morphed, as it were, into it from the original. Then they decided that the latest round of improvements was too big to allow it to be, well, backwards compatible, so to speak. It was time then to recognise this and bring out the name Evo to the latest incarnation, as it were. It sits in the familiar tubular and folded steel chassis and carries over the minimalistic controller design, making it look so very much like its predecessor, and is really only recognisable externally by subtle changes. Well, if it's good enough for Porsche, why not for Hill? The dimensions then. They are 370mm high, 465mm wide, and 225mm deep, and tips the scales at 23.5 kilograms or 3 stone 10 pounds, with the optional dry pack fitted. These are sold all over the world and are naturally available in the correct voltage and plug requirements. Because they are sold in the USA, they've been requested to be able to go as high as around 4,500 psi, which means this is capable of 310 bars of pressure, which is great because this will comfortably fill the air-hungry 300-bar rifles that are becoming more and more popular. The next elephant in the room is the ability to fill divers tanks. One of the most common questions they get asked at Hills is, will it fill my 12-litre stonking great diver's tank? Now, this is a very good point to highlight, and I'm going to do it here. The answer is yes. It is capable of filling that beast. It isn't going to do it in 2 minutes flat or even close to that time, especially if you're trying to fill one from empty. The real point is, are you trying to fill a tank that you've just bought off Fleabay cheap, probably knowing or not that it's out of date? This is a point worth highlighting. Divers' tanks need to be checked by professionals on a regular basis and should be stamped on them to prove this. However, if you buy one second hand, you have no idea what it's gone through in its life and if it has been damaged in any way by being dropped or bashed about. A 300 bar pressure vessel, if it fails, will take the side of your house out. And when they are filled by reputable people, they are done so in a safe environment and are always checked to see if they are safe to fill. So, don't buy any compressor to save having your diver's tank checked. You are putting yourself and possibly your loved ones at great risk. All that lot said, if you're going to use it to fill your tank, use it to top it up more frequently rather than expecting it to fill from virtually empty all in one go. This is perfect for filling guns directly and missing out the middleman, as it were. The middleman being the diver's tank. It is a terrific tool for a club or group of shooters to use, or for someone who shoots a lot and wants to have everything at hand. So, what is different on the Evo? From the outside, it looks pretty much identical, as we've said. Indeed, you need to look very closely to see any external difference. There is a new automatic air pressure purge system that kicks in when the compressor stops, which can be when its auto cooling cycle starts, for example, or if it is paused or it's finished. This is in place to help relieve the strain of the motor, rather than having it start at high pressures when it restarts. The added bonus is it also purges some of the moisture that may have started to build up, which is great news for people wanting to fill tanks. It's important that you leave the EC3000 Evo go through its entire cycle when it's filling a tank, and don't be too tempted to start interrupting it and thinking you know better. This is a very technical and well sought out piece of kit. There are various improvements to internal components and valves to extend its longevity. It also gives it quite a distinctive sound. They have an amazing new gauge fitted, which is analog for the dinosaurs like me who prefer to see a nice dial, but it's actually backed by a highly accurate digital pressure sensor, so it never needs recalibrating when you service it. You wouldn't see it from the outside, but the electronics inside have all been changed and are far more efficient and yet more minimalistic. Remember what I said about those clever young lads? Setting it up from new, there is a simple process and quick start guide in the box. Once you have it out of the box and have removed all the protective packing, you will need to find the two oil bottles. There is a crank oil, which is red, and a silicone oil, which is clear. On the side of the unit, you will find a red screw top and a blue one. The red is for the crank oil, and you will need to pour the red oil in. You will pretty much need all of it, and you can check the level on the window on the side. Then, naturally, return the red top. Then undo the blue screw top and pour in the silicone oil up to the blue line. Don't overfill it. You don't need to use the full bottle. Once you've done that, then return the blue screw top. You will need to just keep an eye on the levels from time to time. The red crank oil shouldn't really need touching at all until it's service time, but you may need to top up the silicone occasionally. That's it. You're ready to plug it in. One of the biggest killers of PCPs and divers tanks is moisture. And different compressors have different levels of filtration. Some have little or nothing and are as cheap as chips and will cost you far more in the long run. Some may have a foam or felt filter, no bigger than a cigarette filter. Others will include a very useful charcoal filter. The Hill is one for the full-on Puritan in that the optional Dry Pack Pro is an air drying filter that is pretty much going to give you breathing air quality filtration and save the air cylinder on your gun from rotting. This does come as a complete kit and is extremely well made and has extra filter packs available which need to be replaced after around 3 months or 10 hours of use, whichever comes first. At first, this may seem a lot, but the cost of a refill pack is less than £30 for 4, which is a small price to pay for a year's worth of use. When you consider the cost of a tank or your gun cylinder on your £2,000 Pride and Joy, well, the trick here is it needs to be kept upright in use, and yes, you can fit this to other compressors, but you must remember the upright bit. Using this is simplicity itself. The first thing to do is connect it up to your gun or tank, then close off the bleed screw, connect it to your power source, switch the compressor on press the rotary control knob on the front of the control panel. The first thing it is wanting to do is check the lubricant levels. Press confirm if you've checked them and they're okay. Then press the knob again to set your pressure. Turn the knob to the desired pressure. Then you're ready to start. Now, how simple is that? And the best advice I can give you is to leave it, let it do its thing. Let's take a look. It is worth to remind you that once it's reached the desired pressure, it will stop. Then bleed off the excess pressure with the bleed screw and remove your filler probe from your gun. It should really go without saying, store compressors upright with the bleed valve open when you're not in use. Ideally, not in the shed outside in the middle of a Siberian winter, because it won't work until it gets up to 3 degrees centigrade, and it'll shut off at 75 degrees centigrade. Well, the trick bit, it has different levels of temperature protection at different pressures. Another point that the young Hogwarts wizards at Hill have built into the system. On sitting there, it will draw 14 watts from the fan that's on board. Once you start the compressor up, it pulls something in the region of 750 watts, which is too much for the small battery inverter pack that I was using. So it went straight to mains. Just over 2 minutes to do 100 bar, considering that this was its very first outing, so the dry pack hadn't even been pressured up either. I think that is pretty good going. You know, I love it when someone is quick to state this is the only one you'll ever need, or the only one to have, etc., etc. So why aren't we all driving around in the same car, living in the same type of house, watching all the same TV programmes? Because a family of 5 is going to need a 5-seater car, and a 3, 4 or even 5-bedroom house. All of them wanting to watch Britain's Got Dancing on Ice, or whatever it is nowadays. But others, such as me, don't need any more than 2 seats in a car. The number of bedrooms are not as important to me, and I don't watch terrestrial television at all. Equally, if I need my gun filling up whilst out in the field from a 12-volt vehicle source, the Hill isn't going to be the one for me. There are others that are easily able to meet this requirement. But if I want to top a gun up or tank and can do all of this from the comfort of a 240-volt source, and want it done in a quieter, faster way, knowing I have an amazingly well-engineered piece of kit to do it with, then the Hill EC3000 Evo is likely to be the box to tick. There's really no one size fits all in this world. Is it maintenance free? No, but it is minimal maintenance. But like your car, it does need an oil change from time to time to help keep it in tip-top condition. The service kits are readily available and it is a simple job. But if in doubt, get it done by your local gun shop, assuming they're any good. Again, the kits to do this are inexpensive at around £15 UK, and it doesn't need doing that often. It just needs doing every 50 hours or 1 year of runtime, which is, again, that's not a lot. So, What is it going to cost you, and who is it for? Well, it's not for the Springer boys, who have been shouting all the way through this. Buy a Springer, no doubt. But again, we don't all want a 5-seater SUV. So, at around £960 UK, it is probably for the higher-end PCP owners, or those who shoot a lot, or are too far away from somewhere to get their tanks filled, or who probably don't have the time to drive and get them filled. It would be brilliant for a club or range and would comfortably manage that amount of workload. It may be for a group of shooters who would share it, and it's definitely for somebody like me who doesn't want to use a pump. It's not really for the out and about, fill up your gun in the field individuals, although if you have a power bank that is sufficient or an inverter fitted to your source, then you could, but that's just more trouble and more expense maybe, in which case there are other things available, and it is somewhat heavier than the 12-volt units out there. And after saying all that, I'm now trying to figure out my excuse for having one. So, there you go, a pretty full review of the new EC3000 Evo and a sneak peek at the UK company and what the guys and girls at Hill get up to. Another excellent compressor from a terrific company who have, in my experience, one of the very best customer aftercare ethos that I've ever come across. Hopefully you've enjoyed this review. If you have, please give us the old thumbs up, subscribe, feel free to share, click the notification alarm bell, and take a look at this little lot, the AAR website and Airgun factory. A very big thank you to Hills in Sheffield and, of course, the guys at Vector Air for all their help. And the biggest thank you, as always, goes out to you guys for watching and supporting the channel. Please stay safe and shoot safe and fill safely too. Bye for now.